Forget everything you've ever been told about noble leadership. Today, we're opening a playbook that's been whispered about for centuries. This isn't just a book, it's a manual for kings, tyrants, and modern-day power players. It's a guide to winning the most dangerous game of all by mastering its most ruthless rules. And let's be clear, this isn't about being a good person. It's about being effective.
And right there, that's the cold hard premise for everything we're about to get into. What Machiavelli is saying is simple. If you want to survive, you have to deal with the world as it is, not as you wish it were. Idealism, that's a luxury you just can't afford when you're in charge. To hold on to power, you have to be willing to look at the truth, no matter how ugly it gets.
All right, let's dive in. The very first rule of this dark art is that you have to strip away every single illusion you have, especially the ones about human nature. This is the bedrock. This is the foundation that your entire strategy has to be built on. So on one hand, you've got these imagined principalities, the perfect utopias and republics that philosophers dream up, places that have never actually existed. Those are nothing but a distraction. On the other hand, you have the real world of politics. It's a messy, chaotic, brutal arena that's run by fear, by ambition, and by pure self-interest. That is where you have to learn to fight, and you have to learn to win.
So what is this reality we're talking about? Well, you have to understand this down to your bones. Men are, by their very nature, ungrateful, they're fickle, and they're masters of deception. They are driven by greed, and believe me, they will betray you the second it benefits them. They'll swap out their rulers at the drop of a hat, always thinking the grass will be greener, only to realize they've just made their own lives worse. This is the raw material you've got to work with.
Okay, so now that you understand the treacherous landscape of human nature, we can get into the actual mechanics of conquest. See, getting power is one thing, but holding on to it, that's a whole different game.
When you conquer a new territory, especially one that's different from your own, your feelings are your worst enemy. You need a precise procedure, a checklist. Number 1, you have to go and live there yourself so you can stamp out any problems before they grow. 2, set up colonies. They're like anchors for your power. 3, become the protector of your weaker neighbors. That turns them into allies. 4, weaken the powerful ones around you. And 5, and this is critical, you never ever let another foreign power get a foothold. It's just a cold, strategic calculation.
And that leads us to maybe the most chilling point of all. When you have to hurt someone, you absolutely cannot afford half measures. Any injury you inflict has to be so total, so devastating, that you completely eliminate any chance of revenge. Showing mercy to a beaten enemy isn't a virtue, it's a future threat that you foolishly decided to let live.
If you want a case study in this kind of ruthless efficiency, you don't have to look any further than Cesare Borgia. Machiavelli saw him as the absolute master of the game. Borgia used deception, he used brute force, and he used strategic cruelty to carve out a state for himself. He was the blueprint for what a new prince should be.
This way of thinking extends to even the most brutal tactics. See, in this playbook, cruelty isn't some sin that's born out of anger. No, it's a surgical instrument. It has to be measured, it has to be timed, and it has to be applied with absolute precision to get a specific political result.
And this brings us to this idea of cruelty well used. So what does that mean? It means cruelty that's committed all at once, in one single stroke, out of sheer necessity to make your position secure. It's swift, it's total, and this is the most important part. It is not repeated. The shock is massive, but it only happens once.
Now you contrast that with cruelty that is badly used. These are the injuries that start small but then grow and multiply over time. All that does is create a constant state of fear and resentment. The lesson here is crystal clear. Do all of your necessary dirty work right at the very beginning. Get it over with. Let the memory of that violence fade. Then, you give out your benefits slowly, drop by drop, so the sweet taste of your generosity lingers long after the fear is gone.
But, and this is a huge but, Machiavelli draws a very critical line here. You have to remember, he's a political realist, not a monster. He points out that while treachery and butchery might win you an empire, they will never, ever win you glory. History will remember that you had power, sure, but it will deny you a place among the truly great.
So now, we get to the art of public relations, Renaissance style. This is where the prince has to become a true master of illusion. He has to separate who he is on the inside from what he appears to be to everyone else.
First things first, we have to completely redefine a word, virtu. Forget everything you think you know about virtue. In Machiavelli's world, virtù has absolutely nothing to do with being morally good. It's a mix of skill and prowess and cunning. It's the raw ability to do whatever is necessary, whether it's good or evil, to protect and maintain the state.
So what's the mask that you have to wear for the public? Well, you have to seem to be merciful, faithful, humane, upright, and religious. The appearance of these virtues is absolutely essential if you want to keep the people's support. But in the back of your mind, you have to be ready, at a moment's notice, to become the exact opposite of all those things. And if you want a perfect real-world example of this in action, just look at Ferdinand of Aragon. He used the banner of religion to justify all of his conquests, to consolidate his power, all while acting with a cold pragmatism that had nothing to do with the faith he was so loudly proclaiming. He understood the incredible power of appearances.
All of these lessons, seeing reality for what it is, using calculated cruelty, mastering deception, they're all building towards one single, chilling conclusion. They lead us to the one question that has echoed for 500 years and has come to define Machiavelli's entire legacy.
A prince, of course, wants both. Who wouldn't? But you can't always have both. So if you are forced to choose, which one is the safer bet for your throne? The affection of your people or their dread?
The answer is blunt. It's unsentimental. And for a ruler, it is absolutely critical. It is much, much safer to be feared. And the logic is just as cold as the conclusion. Love, Machiavelli argues, is basically held together by a chain of obligation. And because men are fundamentally self-interested, they will break that chain whenever it's convenient for them. But fear is held together by a dread of punishment that never ever fails. A prince who relies on love can be abandoned. A prince who relies on fear commands obedience. So let's just summarize the profile of this ideal ruler. He is a student of reality, not of wishful thinking. He's a master of both war and deception. He uses cruelty as a tool, not as a passion. He understands that what he appears to be is way more important than what he actually is. And above all else, he builds his power on the solid, reliable foundation of fear, not on the fickle, shifting winds of affection.
And this whole thing leaves us with one final, pretty unsettling question. We can call these ideas brutal or cynical, but just look at the world around you. Look at politics, look at big business, look at the constant struggle for influence. Is this playbook just some dusty relic from Renaissance Italy? Or are its dark chapters still being written today?